Hey guys, this is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching with the trade review for Monday, the 12th of May. And bulls returned in force. So this morning, when I was going through the trade review, if you'd like to see it, it's right below. The market preview right below here. The number one thing I was concerned about, right? Open drive higher out of the gate. Okay, so what does open drive higher mean to me? Well, some people see it as, hey, if I can just get long this thing, I'll kill it. I'll make a lot of money. And that's true. If you can get long, you can kill it and you can make a lot of money. But the flip side of that is think about what it takes to be able to actually get long these open drives higher properly. So first of all, if you'll notice, let's take a close look. So first of all, we opened up at a tick extreme of 1,000 plus, right? So that means you have to be willing to buy when the market has already gapped and has a lot of aggressive buyers right out of the gate. And you have to be willing to bet that those guys are not going to turn around and sell. Now, if you look over the last 3 or 4 weeks, that has been a bad bet most days. Okay, that'll get you smoked, number one. So you'd have to be able to understand that this time was different than all the other times. And maybe you could, maybe you couldn't. I certainly was concerned that we'd have an open drive higher. So number one, getting long is hard, these particular markets. Secondly, the other thing that I observed this morning, right, is we came right off the initial resistance zone at 1884 to, it should have been 1886. I was off by a tick on this zone, right? If you'll look at that, however, and we did get the 2-point rotation lower, okay, so what's the flip side of that? If buyers are truly excessively strong, like we had a couple of months ago, right, they would blow right through that, 1884, 1886 zone, and you could hand yourself a quick 2 to 4 point loss. Okay, that's never fun either. So when I look at the two options here, my only objective, remember, when I trade concentrated leveraged positions. Okay, my objective is to take trades where it's hard for someone else to take my money and easy for me to take theirs. Well, from the description that I just gave, it should not appear that this was an easy place to take a trade at all, okay? And I'm not trying to, first of all, I'm not a trading service, and I'm not trying to appease every kind of trader that's out there. I do this because I want to do one thing. I want to make lots of money for myself, okay? And if I can help a few people along the way do the same thing, I think that's awesome. So what that means in that objective is I want to think like a guerrilla fighter. I want to be able to strike and cause damage to the enemy, right, while taking minimal to no damage on my side of the equation. Okay, so what that immediately means is if I get through this, right, safely, I'm in good shape. So the first place that I saw a good opportunity, right, to take a trade was up here when we came up to the actually it was an NQ, but not even when we came up to this particular point. As soon as I saw the open drive higher, what did I say? That I would wait at least till 9:30 before I start trying to take contra trades. Why? Because that's the time that we tend to get reversals is after 9:30 with moves back to the downside. And if you'll look, this is the exact time we got that move back to the downside. We moved from essentially 1890, essentially 1889 and 3/4, right? And we rotated all the way down to 1886 and 3/4. That's 3 points, and that's if you nailed it perfectly. So what that tells me going into this day is that, first of all the counter rotations were small. Buyers were in control. If I nailed it and I waited patiently till after 9:30, I had the potential to get a rotation lower. But even with that, if you look, this was the first move into the zone right here, right? And if you look, this has already spent past the 25-minute time limit I usually put in to allow a trade to work for me. So that made this trade very tough. And secondly, the rotations down were almost nil prior to this 9:30 trade area. All of that adds up to generally a trend day up when you get that situation. And then the last thing that I want to go back on, what I highlight every single morning, what are the other characteristics of a potential open drive higher / trend day up? Okay, were we able to achieve gap fill? I realize I just pulled an ADD by switching on y'all, by the way, back to the prior subject, but I forgot to cover two important points. Did we have an attempt at gap fill? No. were we able to attempt a half gap? No. My plan, if you'll recall, was that if we could get a move into half gap, was to attempt to get a long out of half gap. Now, if we would have gotten that, this day would have been dramatically, and I mean dramatically different for me, but I wasn't able to get it. So look what I achieved just by staying patient and not getting run over. A, I was prepared to take a long if we could have gotten half gap. It did not occur. No big deal. Number two, I didn't get run over in the drive higher, right? That saved me from 1882 all the way up to eventually 1892. So for a trader with no discipline whatsoever, that's a potential 10-point loss, but at minimum, I was looking at somewhere between a 2 and a 4-point loss. Totally avoided. That goes down as a win in my column as far as I'm concerned. And then the last piece that I did is I did take a trap on NQ when it trapped below the first hour's high. And that trade just simply didn't work out. I gave it plenty of time to work, and the way that I took that trade was that I said, I have no way of knowing if this trade is going to work or not. Obviously, we have potential trend day up, right? But my stop was 5 points, or the equivalent of 2 ES points, $100 per contract, right? And I said, this is the right time for reversals. We're after 9:30. I'm willing to let the trade work. I got one tiny scale off, okay, and I'm not even going to count that. We're just going to assume I took a loss on the whole thing, okay? And in addition, and I even tweeted this out, there was plenty of time to cover that NQ trade. Here, I'll bring it up. Let's see if I have it here so everyone can see it. Okay, so that trade, this was the first hour high right here. Okay, so I called the trap trade. Didn't mean to do that. Let's get it back over here. I called the trap trade right. Oh, wow, that's an annoying feature, is it not? Right here. That's where I called the trap trade. And if you look, that went from, we were after the 9:30 spot, right? That's key for reversals. And we went from 9:30 all the way out until almost 11:30. It gave me 2 hours of time to try to make this trade work. Now, did it work? Nope. Did I get stopped? You bet I did. But was it a small risk relative to the reward I get? Well, if you've been watching me for the last couple of weeks, you'll notice that I've gotten 15 to 30 points on a pretty regular basis. If I surrender 5 back to the market, and they take 5 from me each time I'm wrong, and they give me 15 to 30 each time I'm right, I will take that formula all day long. And in addition, my win ratio is in excess of 60% of the time on that particular trade. Okay, so those are just huge odds for me, guys, and I'll take those each and every time. I have a win to loss ratio that's almost pretty close to 3 to 1 in my favor, and there are times when I run close to 80% win rates or higher on those particular trap trades. So I'll take that all day long. So my assessment of the day is you have 2 ways to looking at this if you're a trader. Okay, you can come and look at it as what did I need to do to guarantee that I had a trade that could make money? Well, the only way you could have done that this morning is if you bought the open and you didn't wait for a counter rotation. This will kill you in ES on the majority of days and will cause you to take a huge amount of losses, right? So secondly, did I sidestep taking a loss to the short side? You bet I did. I had a perfect read on that open, and I did not get run over. I simply didn't get the attempt at half gap to be able to get a trade to the long side. Cool. No problem, right? And then the third part, did I take risk where it was appropriate? Yes. After 9:30, I had a trap trade set up. It was on NQ. It wasn't on ES, right? I took my one shot. I got stopped with a small scale, and then I was done with the day. I didn't press it anymore. I left it alone. And the difference between a professional trader or any trader, even if you're a non-professional that makes a lot of money, and the traders that have these constant flip-flops in equity, right? And they can't hold on to their equity. That's the big key. They cannot hold on to their equity. Are these guys that demand that the market pay them every single day in every single type of environment, regardless of what's going on. And those guys have no middle ground, right? They can't look at a day where they get out with either a small loss or flat on the day and consider that a victory. And I consider that one of my strong points, is I can take 1 or 2 small losses because I know in the days to come that I will make probably a tremendous amount of money, and it gives me a tremendous amount of confidence, and it doesn't shake me when things don't work in my favor. So let's look forward a little bit and talk about the trade plan going forward from here. If we look on the bigger picture without going to the volume profile, because that seems to throw a lot of people, so I'm going to look at the bigger picture here. Let's go to a 60-minute chart. Okay, so clearly we have finally broken off of this base that we've been building forever. We gapped and we have gone. Now we still need to get and hold above this 1893.25. So the first test you have to ask yourself tomorrow is, are we trading above it's actually 1892.25 was the key area, right? So if we dip back down tomorrow, what do we want to see quickly to get more upside? Is we want to see us holding above that 1892.25, and certainly we want to see the closes above that 1880 level. We've been unable to garner a close above that 1880 level. So really, okay, intraday, we want to see it hold above 1892.25. A little bit bigger picture, we want to see the closes maintain above 1880. The other thing that I'm going to notice is that this is all really poorly auctioned here below 1887 and change. Let's just call it 1887 for sake of conversation. And below, really poorly auctioned. What does that mean? That means that we could come down and get this gap fill pretty easily if we can trade below that 1887 level. So when you're doing your trade planning, keep in mind it's slippery below 1887, and there's really no help. Truly, there's not a lot of help all the way down till about 1868. If we fall back into the range, of course, that would require that we fall back into the range. So could it be a head fake gap up? You bet it could. But for right now, let's assume the buyers are going to stay in control until we get back below this 1887 level. Okay. Number two, NQ. That's the next big question. So let's see what it looks like bigger picture. Let's do NQ.D. Okay. So bigger picture. All we've done on a closing basis is broken out above these high closes. Let's see, this was the high close prior to this point before we shifted back down, right? So you can see we're pretty poorly auctioned, first of all, right up to this point right here. So 36.34, then followed by this little area right up here, and then finally this. The key to this is that all of this, for the most part, everything above here is really poorly auctioned. Could the NASDAQ play catch up back to the upside? You bet it could, right? So I'm going to watch to see if the NASDAQ takes leadership. It had a really good wide range today. Below, what I'm concerned about, let's take a closer look in terms of poorly auctioned or well auctioned. Okay, let's go try that again. Okay, so really, if we can get below this level right here, just below this 35.90, okay, we're really poorly auctioned, and it would really be quite easy to come in back down to this gap fill at 35.50. Again, I've highlighted for a couple of days. This 35.50 area is pretty critical. This is all poorly auctioned through here, and even beneath this level, we were really poorly auctioned up until that 35.30 level. So down below there is room to get slippage. However, as long as we can hold above this, I'd say this 35.88 to 35.97 level. Actually, let's get more specific. I'd like to see it hold above 35.92 to 35.97. If we can hold above it on a backside test, we do have plenty of room to the upside. I'm going to show you all that. So let's go look for this here real quick. Okay, so you'll see today we closed right here at 36.10. Let's get rid of all these drawings here. So at 36.10, okay, if we look back to the left, okay, so you can see that 36.10 was a pretty big deal there. That's where we got rejected before. Above here, this is all all of this is, relatively speaking, poorly auctioned. I I would imagine that 36.33 will get some attempt somewhere between this 36.26 and 36.33. We'll get some attempt at rejection back to the downside. But if we can get above this level, this is all poorly auctioned right up into this little area right here, and then followed by this little area here. It would not be hard, I want to stress this, it would not be hard for the NASDAQ to get up to that 36.70 level over a couple of days, right? And if you do the math, we went 60 today, we closed at 36.08. If we tack on another 60, we're right back at the highs, guys. Okay, so don't be shocked if you see that. What am I looking for tomorrow? Well, first of all, the overnight will guide me in terms of direction, right, along with the prior day's highs and lows. What I would like to see is that we maintain, as long as we can hold and maintain above this level right in here, this 35.92, 35.95, I would look for a push and continuation up. Below here, okay, and you need to be aware, below here, all of this, all the way down to here, is now poorly auctioned and can be easily traded through. So you need to put that as a warning sign on your charts, right? That doesn't mean that we can't come in here and get responsive buyers and push back up. It does not mean that. What it does mean, however, is that it'll be much easier for the market to trade down through that. You want an example of what that'll look like, and you got to look over here to your left, and you can see all of this was very poorly auctioned, right? And you can see how we came right back until we got into well-auctioned territory down here at the bottom. All of this was very easy to slip through, okay? So don't let this happen to you where you become a victim in an area that was poorly auctioned. Make sure you're focused on taking your trades on areas where there are good auctions. And, you know, that's all I got to say about that tonight. That's kind of a little peek at what we're looking at in the days coming ahead. Again, hopefully we hold above this 35.92, 35.95 level overnight, and we hold above it in the intraday session. I would love some manic upside push for the summertime. Would be fantastic, right? I love trading. It doesn't have to be a bear market for me. And if bulls got control of this thing, I will participate to the upside with a big old fat smile on my face. So let's see what tomorrow brings. And hopefully we're going to have one very nice upside week. Upside's the path of least resistance right now, guys. So hopefully we've accumulated a lot of shorts down here. We built some fuel for some fire, and those guys are going to get roasted and smoked to the upside. But we'll find out more when we get here in the morning. So anyways, my name is Simon. I'm a little bit overtired. I'm sorry if I repeated myself. Oh, the purpose of this. Look, the purpose of this whole thing is to teach people how to be consistent traders and not get smoked. Not want to have to trade every single move that you see, and to learn how to build on a consistent basis, day over day, profitable trades, and how to learn how, when it's not your day, when it's not your trade, when it's not your perfect setup, not to let the market run you over so that you need a great day just to get back to profitability. I've done this with a lot of coaching clients. At this point, I know for a fact it can be done. You have to have the willingness to discipline yourself, to restrain yourself, okay, so that you can put yourself in a position to be a winner. And winning traders are not necessarily traders who are constantly trading. Okay, that's a misnomer. It's an illusion. Winning traders are the ones that can sit on their hands when it's not their market. And the first thing you got to be able to figure that out in that process is, what is the market that you make money in? And I can tell you, one-way straight-up markets are not my markets. You give me a two-sided market and I will kill it all day long. That's for me. Now, if you're the kind of trader that you need a gap up, open drive higher and run, and that's how you make all your money, more power to you. That's not for me. I know if I spent all my time trying to capture these moves, I would have to jump out a window. It's just too damn frustrating. It does not happen with enough consistency. Once you do see them, you got to nail them perfectly not to get stopped out. It's not my cup of tea. So anyways, I hope I helped a few people with this. If you have any questions, you can reach me at tradeandperform@gmail.com. This is the last week that the market preview will be open to the public on a live basis. I will be posting the trade review, the market preview and the trade reviews will still be open to the public in general, and the market previews will be available after 11 a.m. Central Time to the general public. And then in a continuing effort to help traders who are not in the room, I'm going to open the room every once in a while, maybe once a week, maybe once every other week, to the public in general so that they can join. I would really like some feedback from those of y'all who've been watching this for a while, whether it's to pricing, whether it's to a strategy, or how I can improve the service. I'm more than welcome an email or any questions that you might have. The idea behind this, again, is to help traders go from being frustrated, break-even, or losing traders to consistent winning traders. And so that's my goal. This is my way of giving back, and hopefully it's proving effective for a lot of people out there. So have a good night, guys. I will see you early in the AM. I am beyond exhausted. We'll see you in the morning. Bye-bye.